Hello, everyone, and welcome to our First Generation Professionals panel. I am Dr. Audra Grady-Verrier. I'm the Director of Career and Leadership Development at Sonoma State. I'm really excited to present to you this amazing panel of First Generation Professionals. Many of these folks are also, well, you all are alums, actually, come to think of it. So we had a couple others who were not Sonoma State alums, but you are all alumni of our proud institution. So thank you so much for being here today. I'm going to do a quick round of introductions, and then I'm going to ask you all to share a little bit more about yourself as I ask the first question. So first, we have Kelly Silva, who graduated from our MBA program just this year in 2021, and also has a bachelor's degree from Berkeley. We have Quinn Prado-Diaz, who's at Mills College now, and they're all going to tell you a little bit about what they do in their jobs and experience. So I'm going to share just their degrees. So Quinn graduated from Sonoma State in 2019, and you're currently in a master's program at the University of San Francisco. And so in 2019, Quinn graduated from Women and Gender Studies and received a bachelor's degree here. Next, we have Christina Gamboa, who graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in Business Admin with a concentration in accounting, also from Sonoma State in 2019. And we have Sammy Gaona. Did I say that correct? Gaona. And Sammy graduated with several degrees from here. 2017 with a BA in Spanish, minor in history. Also in 2021 with a BS in nursing from Sonoma State, and also graduated from the JC in 2020 with an Associates of Science in Nursing. We also have today with us Michaela, and Michaela graduated from Sonoma State as well in 2020 with a BA in psychology. So we have a wide variety of degrees and programs. Love for you to share anything you'd like about your experience here as a student, but also in that transition from Sonoma State to your current profession, what you're doing now, what does your work look like? How did you arrive to that place? And what were some of the things you learned along the way? So I'm going to have you each introduce yourselves a little bit more and share some of that with our students. And anyone can start.
Well, I'll start. Why not? I'm not sure what the question is, but I'll just go for it.
Just tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background and what you're doing now.
Okay. So as I said, I did my undergrad at Berkeley. At that time, I was the first person in my family to go to college and get a degree. I was in international and area studies, and in a major called development studies, and my emphasis was economics. I've worked in a variety of industries over the years. I have a very eclectic background. Now I'm in Napa, and for the last 10 years or so, I worked in the wine industry. And I decided to go to Sonoma State and chose their Global Executive MBA in Wine Business program, because it built on both my degree from Berkeley and my wine industry experience. During that program, I decided that I wanted my focus to be sustainability, and I decided to do my capstone on sustainability auditing and consulting, and I've been doing that since I graduated.
Great, thank you, Kelly.
Sure.
I'll go next. So graduated in 2019 from Sonoma, as you said, first in my family as well to go to college. Thankfully not the last. My brother has also decided to go to college. So he's at Oregon State, super proud of him, studying astrophysics. And I said, I'm going to go the business route. Was actually going to go work for Walt Disney World. I had done the Disney College program while in college, and then really fell in love and decided to go there. But the lovely Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Sawyer at Sonoma State said, how about I beat that offer and you come work for us in higher ed? Because I was really involved with student affairs. I was a part of all different student leadership departments during my time. So worked for the Vice President of Student Affairs for a year. COVID hit, obviously created a lot of chaos, which I'm sure everybody has experienced. So took a little bit of a step away from higher ed to go work actually in management, in retail management for a bit. And then got another phone call to say, hey, why don't you come work for us again in higher ed? You sure you loved it? And I said, yes, I did. So now I currently work for Associated Students, which is an auxiliary on campus. I work as the business office manager. So I oversee all club finances. I also support different clubs and advise them on campus. I also help handle all the financials for the Associated Students. So it's about $2.5 million corporation that I help keep the lights on and help the money keep flowing. And during my time, I also decided I wanted to go back to school. So I'm actually in the professional MBA program at Sonoma State. I'm in my first semester, so hoping to graduate in 2023 and plan to stay in higher ed. I also am just going to put plan because I also identify that life can change. So that's where I'm at the moment.
Great, thank you, Christina. Quinn, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I can go. So hello everyone, my name is Quinn Parado Diaz and my pronouns are they, them. I did graduate from Sonoma State in 2019 in the Women and Gender Studies program, and I also got minors in queer studies and astronomy. As a student at Sonoma State, I was highly involved. I was in a lot of clubs, very much dedicated to the EOP program, which is the Educational Opportunity Program for those who may not know. And yeah, after graduating from Sonoma State, I did actually get into Iowa State in their higher education student affairs program. However, I ended up coming back home during my first semester for personal reasons, and I reapplied to the University of San Francisco, which is where I'm currently at. However, I've taken a year off during the pandemic, again, for other personal reasons. But currently I'm in the higher education and student affairs program at the University of San Francisco. My plans are to work in higher education. I really enjoy working with first generation students, low income students, and students of marginalized identities, specifically those who are in the queer community or LGBTQ plus community. As I do personally identify as queer and transgender. And so I am very passionate about working with students. At Mills College is where I currently work. I'm an admissions counselor and visit coordinator. So in normal circumstances, I would assist students in applying to Mills College, assist them in the whole application process, making sure they're getting connected to the campus to ensure that when they get to our campus their first semester, they are solid. However, I also do supervise all of our students who work in our office through those who work for our tours, our information sessions, those who work at our front desk, and a lot more. So that's what I'm currently doing. And again, I plan to work in higher education, although my dream goal is to come back to Sonoma State for EUP and be an advisor through EUP.
Great. Well, we hope to see you here one day. Sammy.
Hello. I graduated from Sonoma State multiple times, as Dr. Audra said. I graduated in fall 2017 with a BA in Spanish with a minor in history, which was not my original plan. It ended up happening because I ended up studying abroad in Spain for a year. So essentially that guaranteed me a BA in Spanish with the exception of one course. And at the same time, I was still trying to get into nursing schools, ended up just graduating. So to be honest, not spending more money on education. Fortunately, I got into SRJC in their Associates of Nursing program, which was a lot cheaper. So I'm very happy about that. But as well, their education is also high quality. And I also graduated in the middle of the pandemic with my associates in nursing, got licensed last year in July. So I've been a licensed registered nurse for over a year now. Spent my first year working at a free Jewish community free clinic here in Santa Rosa and at a skilled nursing facility, which is rehab for the elderly or anyone experiencing like broken limbs. They need just an additional rehab just to get them on the right track so that they can go home safely. At the same time, I re-enrolled at Sonoma State for a bachelor's of nursing. Graduated this May with a BSN, and now I work as an emergency room or emergency department registered nurse here in Healdsburg Hospital. So that's about a little bit about me.
And I bet it's been busy in that emergency room lately, huh?
Yeah, I've seen the effects of COVID, of people who have had it, people who come to the ER and we find out that they have it. So I've seen it. I've kind of seen a little bit of everything.
Thank you for being on the front lines.
Mhm.
All right, Michaela.
Hi guys, my name is Michaela Cabillian. My preferred pronouns are she, her. I started college originally at College of Marin, and I graduated with my AA in psychology there. And then I decided to go to Sonoma State. I got into a few other schools, but I decided on Sonoma, one, because it was really close to where I lived, and then I didn't really want to go to a big school, so I liked that Sonoma was on the smaller side. And then during my time there, I was a part of the transfer student mentor program on campus. And then I joined Tau Sigma, the Honor Society for Transfer Students. I don't know if they're still there, but I was in that for some time, and then eventually became the president of Tau Sigma, which was awesome. I had a lot of fun doing that. And then pandemic came during my senior year, which really sucked, but we still tried to do stuff online and still try to be as active as we could given the situation. And then I graduated in May of 2020. First in my family to graduate. And then again, with the pandemic, like trying to work in mental health was really hard. Everyone was pretty much on a hiring freeze, and I was still working. I worked with autistic kids at the time, and we were trying to do that online, and that was super challenging. And then Enterprise Rent-A-Car came out and scouted me. And at first I was like, I went to school for psychology. Like, I want to be in mental health. Why am I going to rent cars? And I gave it a shot. I've been with the company for a little over a year now. And now I'm the assistant manager at the Napa branch. So I've been running Napa for a few months now, in charge of 250 cars. Got a whole team that I'm running, and dealerships, body shops, insurance companies, all that good stuff. So definitely very different from what I was learning at Sonoma State, but still in management and business and sharpening those management skills.
Great, thank you. So you don't all have to answer every single question. You could sort of choose which ones you feel inspired to, but if 2 or 3 of you could respond, that would be wonderful. So we will start with, what are you most proud of as a first generation professional and graduate?
Well, I can say for that, because as you sent the questions in advance, so it gave me a chance to do a lot of thinking, and in hindsight and retrospect is very interesting, and think back on a lot of things from when I was younger and went to undergrad and everything. And I have to say that one of the things I'm most proud of is that I was able to achieve the level of education that I have pretty much independently. Because, although many of my family members thought, yay, oh, great, she goes to college, oh, great, Kelly gets good grades. Other than that, I really didn't get much help from any of them. Not really financially, not as far as networking, not as far as the lifestyle that we had in my family. So the fact that although I had a lot of obstacles and not that much support, I still found ways to keep pursuing it and persevere and accomplish it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
I think something that I'm most proud of is actually not necessarily something I accomplished, but something I'm able to do now is my ability to help navigate students through the process, as well as someone who's now graduated. Like when my brother calls me and I'm like, I know the answer to that, or I advise multiple clubs and sororities on campus, and being able just to help them understand the system, understand the opportunities that are there that maybe I didn't know about coming in, so I know like something like TRIO and EOP, I had no idea existed. And now knowing that and being able to help students kind of access those resources and show them and introduce them to different professionals on campus that are willing to help them and set them up for success. So that's actually something that I'm most proud of, is the ability to do that for others as a person on this, as a professional on this campus. So.
I would say I'm most proud of, being the only one in my family with a college education. I know my mom and my aunt went to college, but they ended up dropping out. Nobody ever finished. So I'm the first to finish. So I'm super proud of that. And then similar to your experience, Kelly, I didn't have any help. Like, I got to stay at home and, not have to worry about bills, which was great. But as far as like expenses for school and trying to figure out tuition and all of that, I had to do all of that by myself because no one else really had the experience or no one else really knew what to do. And then another thing, I feel like I got a lot of leadership opportunities at Sonoma, which has helped tremendously with my career now with Enterprise. I don't think I would be as successful at Enterprise if I didn't go to Sonoma.
All right, so the next one is, what was the biggest challenge you had to overcome as a first generation student to make it to where you are today?
I can go for this one. So there was something recently, I'm very much on Twitter and TikTok, so I might reference it a few times throughout this panel. But I was on Twitter and I actually had seen a tweet from an old professor of mine at Iowa State talking about how they do a lot of research regarding students who are within the margins of the margins. And I think for me, in undergrad and on top of being first generation and growing up low income, being transgender and queer also provides an additional layer of a lot of difficulties that I had to maneuver through. Sorry, there's a car behind me. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's added layers of obstacles that we have to put energy into to be able to maneuver through difficult situations, challenging situations. And sorry, I'm forgetting the question. I feel like I'm going off topic.
You're right on topic. What was the biggest challenge you had to get to where you are today?
Right. And so from a lot of people's previous answers from the first question, I also did not have that much support from my family. I also have a language barrier with my parents. They speak predominantly Spanish. And although my first language is Spanish, I lost it along the way in education to be able to assimilate and be able to get to where I am today. So I had a lot of loss of culture. And coming to Sonoma State, I was able to find community to be able to help me through. Again, mostly EOP and MECHA were two communities I found at Sonoma State to help me get through a lot of my challenges that I had of not having my family support. Also being trans, my family was not aware of and not supporting of my queer identity. So in addition to not being able to talk to them about how difficult classes are, I also felt like I couldn't go home to even be able to see them to find comfort. But I think that's like not a unique experience, in that a lot of first generation students also have additional identities that add additional layers to the challenges that we have to like overcome or just maneuver through in undergrad. And so, yeah, I'll go ahead and leave it there.
I think you're so right though, Quinn. I've heard a lot of students speak about that, of being between different worlds or moving from one world to the other, one identity to the other, and code switching or language switching to try to navigate all of those and keep keep yourself in balance and caring for yourself amongst all of that. So thank you for sharing your story. Sammy or Christina, you want to take this question?
I can speak a little to this. For me, my biggest challenge was simply being the first one in my family to do anything. So I was also the first person in my family to go to college. So for me, when I was applying to go to Sonoma State and all the other universities that I applied and obviously turned down, I was the first one. I was going through it. Yes, I had help from my high school counselor, but at the same time, I still felt like I was in uncharted territory. Once I got to Sonoma State, fortunately, I was part of the EOP program as well. So I had their support and allies within EOP to kind of help me navigate, especially my first year and first semester at Sonoma State. Being a pre-nursing student at Sonoma State added a little extra challenge only because there wasn't enough resources or advisors within EOP to kind of help me with that, or they had mixed opinions on what I should do, what classes I should take. I remember one advisor told me, like, don't take this class because you're gonna fail. I'm like, well, if I want to graduate on time, I think I should do it. I believe in myself. I think I can do it, but ended up lengthening my stay because I fell behind on classes where the other students. So kind of like I did have that support from EOP, but there wasn't enough info for them for my education plan specifically. Not saying that EOP was bad or anything, but they're super great. I'm still in contact with Koo. She's amazing. The whole EOP and EOP family, like, it's near and dear to my heart. And which is why I ended up doing leadership with them throughout my career at Sonoma State. Another big challenge kind of after leaving Sonoma State was finally getting into a nursing program. So once I was at SRJC, I couldn't rely on EOP. I wanted to join their EOP program at SRJC, but I couldn't now that I had a BA in Spanish. So I felt lost, especially that first semester at SRJC, just simply not having that like home. Like at Sonoma State, I can go to the EOP office, hang out with friends, sit there, do homework. I felt comfortable, safe enough to do so. I didn't have that at the JC. So kind of like a little bit what I learned at Sonoma State. I just networked and made friends at SRJC so that I can make that experience, that 2-year experience, valuable. And then I ended up making great friends at SRJC. And then I learned how to navigate their system. And now I have 2 former EOP students at the JC. One just graduated, so now she's a licensed nurse, but I have 2 others at the program. So I'm able to help them navigate SRJC because they don't have EOP they're in the same boat as me. They don't have the support that they had at Sonoma State. So I'm helping them navigate through SRJC. So it's like, even though I kind of persevere through it, in the end, like I help them 3 navigate SRJC, which makes me happy, and it makes their lessons, their burden, or kind of like the topic of the question, the challenges what they face a little smaller. So yeah, that's a little what I perceived as my challenges.
Already paying it forward to them, which is amazing. I think Quinn and Sammy both brought up something that's really common for first generation students is not having those connections or that network. And so plugging into one of those networks or creating that network or, including others in can help first generation students and professionals, right? Because we see that commonality when you get into your careers that you, again, might feel that experience of feeling alone, not having those connections, people around you, maybe not first gen, although in higher ed, that's more common. So building those relationships and finding those connections is really key. Christina, do you want to share anything on challenges?
I think the biggest challenge for me was I grew up in Los Angeles, so there's a very oversaturated market of colleges and universities, specifically like really big private institutions like USC, UCLA, LMU, like these really big ones. And, my family, thankfully, when they immigrated here, they wanted us to achieve the American dream and do these things. So I think they had it in their head, like, if you don't go to USC or UCLA, like what are other colleges and universities in the area? And also coming from a Latinx household, I originally actually wanted to go to school in New York, and my family was like, no, you can't leave California. And I was like, what? So I think that was really hard for me to try to feel like this was something that I wanted. But when I got here, I think another issue or obstacle that I had to face was life here in Sonoma County is very different than Los Angeles County. And I also grew up in the Inglewood, Huntington Park, Compton area. So very different culture, very different environment. The fact that there was only one freeway and it's only 3 lanes, like, shocked me to my core. So I think that was very hard for me just to change the way I live completely. Not only having a roommate, but also just like, oh, this is a very different lifestyle. So I think those are some of the bigger obstacles that I had to face, while also trying to explain to my parents that, like, the university that I'm going to is a great university, and I'm learning a lot and I'm doing a lot of student leadership and being involved. And, like, just because I'm not going to this big name college back home that you think is the only one that exists doesn't mean that it's any less of an education that I'm getting, was some of the big obstacles that I had.
Great, thank you. Some of you have already started to speak to this, but how did you manage your relationships with parents and family when they didn't really understand what you were up against? If there was maybe one tip you could give to a student that might be struggling with that right now, what might it be?
I think the biggest challenge with my family was just them not understanding my choices and not understanding the amount of work I was doing. Because when I was at Sonoma, I was a full-time student. I worked on campus, was doing the Honor Society, and I also had a part-time job off campus. So I was gone all day. Like, I would leave the house 6:30, 7 o'clock, 8 if I was lucky. And I got to sleep in, and then not come home until sometimes 10 o'clock at night, because it's finals week and I got to study, but I also got to work. And so my parents just really didn't understand that. All they saw was that I was gone. And I don't know what it is they thought I was doing, but eventually it just got to a point where I had to, like, break it down for them and be like, no, at this time, I have class. At this time, I'm in the library eating my lunch and studying. At this time, I'm working. At this time, I have a little break, so I'm studying. Like, I'm not just out here lollygagging and doing whatever. Like, I have a 3.8 GPA for a reason. So as frustrating as it can be, just understanding that they're coming from a whole different experience. And the only one, especially when you're first generation, college is just a different experience. You can't really understand it really until you're in it. So I think just being patient with your family and just trying the best you can to explain to them what you're doing and why you're doing it. That's how I approach things with them.
Great, thank you, Michaela. Christina?
Next, yeah. I feel like, honestly, for me, my biggest advice is to protect your heart. I feel like that's protect your heart and give yourself really good boundaries. And Michaela, you did a really good job of kind of literally exactly what I was going to say to a certain extent. But I think for me and my family, again, they didn't want me to leave. And I left, just like Michaela was kind of saying. And they didn't understand, and they were always calling me, and that does take a toll. That slowly takes a toll on you. You're trying your best. You're trying to navigate the situation as best you can. You're trying to act like find all these resources, be in leadership, do all these things, and they might not understand that. And for me, it was really hard for me to hear that every time coming home. And it was like, well, I don't want to come home if you're telling me that you don't understand, or you're kind of putting me down. And so I actually started to go to counseling and psychological services, which is CAPS, to see a therapist. And really what the best advice that I got from them, and that I think really helped, was like, I can protect my heart and I could set up boundaries, and they can either choose to respect those, or, we can choose to not have a conversation every week or every day. And just remembering to protect yourself and you just taking this step to do this and to go to university and to be the first in your family to go is such an amazing, beautiful thing. And it takes a really strong leader to do that, whether you think you are or you're not. And protect your heart in that process, and don't necessarily lean on your family so much to get that appreciation and thinking of other positive words, but like find that in yourself, because that self-confidence, you can take that post university life, post college life, and as a professional, and you can remain confident in yourself and find that appreciation within yourself, and not so much what our generation or my culture, for example, really leads to, which is like family and things like that.
Wow, I couldn't agree more with what you just said. For me, I ended up moving out from my parents, and it was the best thing I could have ever done. And it wasn't originally because of our relationship and the difficulties there. Admittedly, my stepfather, he was a Vietnam vet and probably would have went to college and was actually on the college track had he not been drafted. Both he and my mother were alcoholics, although my mother was a functional alcoholic at least. But why I ended up moving out is, this might surprise you, but when I started at Berkeley, it was only $600 a semester. Yeah. And then they suddenly had these drastic fee hikes. Well, my parents never saved any money at all to help me with college tuition. And I didn't qualify for financial aid because they claimed me on their taxes. So I ended up with zero money for tuition and had to withdraw from school, which was devastating to me. But in that time, I was like, the only way I'm going to qualify for financial aid is if I get a job, move out, and claim myself on my taxes, which is what I did, and return to school. But in the process of that, it salvaged the relationship with my parents so much. It was the best thing I could have done, because it was an unhealthy environment for me to be in, and their behavior and their dysfunction, all that stuff, once I moved out, stopped. And so when I did visit them and when I did talk to them, we actually missed each other and had a lot to catch up on. And I moved down closer to school, and I had my own place, and I had roommates from work. And it just in the end, as hard as that time was for me and as devastated as I was, it ended up all working out really, really well.
So some of you have already shared some of those moments that might have been really tough and how you responded to them, mentioning CAPS and seeing therapists, moving out of your home and deciding that that was the right course of action. Could you share other moments that were those sort of bottom moments that you feel like, that was the toughest, hardest thing I went through? And what did you do? How did you respond? How did you take care of yourself? And how did you get through that tough moment?
I'll kind of go first because I have a really distinct moment. Ever since kindergarten, I wanted to be a lawyer. I was like, that's it, I'm gonna do that. Came to Sonoma State, actually created the mock trial team, competed, got some really good scores, but realized I didn't want to be that stressed ever again in my life. And was like, there's got to be a better way to go about my life than be this stressed. So I kind of had this like crisis in the middle of school of like, what do I want to do? I have no idea. I had this one idea for my whole life. And, my family is now like, you don't want to be a lawyer? Oh my gosh. So I kind of did a very ironic thing. I stopped going to school and I went to Walt Disney World. And I did an internship, and I literally moved across the country and participated in the Disney College program, and just allowed myself to still quote unquote be in school, because they do allow you to like dual enroll, and there's a whole thing we can get into that, but essentially take time away from school without literally being in school. And I think Sammy kind of brought it up about prolonging my time, but also utilizing that semester to do something for myself that I felt was going to be really enhancing to my resume. So I took a semester to go work at Disney World. And I went from kind of the lowest part of where I felt like I didn't know what I was going to do to honestly, that semester at Disney World changed my life. I discovered what I kind of wanted to do, or some passions that I had that I didn't really realize. So my best advice is to do something crazy and take that step and do something that you really love and get involved in something that you really love. And just kind of taking a step to reflect.
using the resources and the opportunities that are available to you. Great. Yeah, anybody else want to share about a tough moment and how you overcame that?
I'll share. So the pandemic brought on some pretty tough moments. Because at the time I was living at home, and I'm a horrible online student. No, online is not for me. So that was really scary, like trying to get through school and living at home with my parents. Like, I don't have the best relationship with them. So going from, usually being out 10 to 12 hours a day, and now I have to stay home with the parents. That was really challenging. And then not being able to find work, super challenging. And the way I got through it was taking chances, kind of like what you were saying, Christina, just taking chances. I took a chance on Enterprise, and at first I was like, oh, okay, I'll give you guys a year, maybe 6 months, we'll see. And I ended up really liking it. I love what I do, and I was able to move out and support myself. So I have a better relationship with my parents now that I don't live there, and I'm not forced to interact with them all the time. And I'm able to put up boundaries. Like, when I first moved out, they were like, okay, dinner every Sunday. And I was like, haha, you're funny. How about dinner every other Sunday? How about that? So yeah, I would say being quick on your feet, taking advantage of any opportunities that are being thrown your way, and taking a chance on stuff, because you never know what an opportunity is going to bring you.
Great, thank you. Next question. What do you know now that you wish you knew when you were in college? Let me put it another way too. Maybe that thing that you wish you could tell your old self, like even just a few years ago, that thing that you didn't know then, that you wish you could sort of say, hey, here's the secret.
I can kind of talk about this one. It's something actually I recently discovered. Speak up. And I know that sounds very like vague and just, okay, yeah, speak up. What do you mean? All my opportunities, and I'm like hitting my hands, all my opportunities, all the resources I've been involved in, all my successes in my life, all the times where I was really struggling, I spoke up, and I was very shocked to hear how many people were receptive to that. So what I mean is, like, speak up to your employer, your boss, tell them I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. When you're in class, I had, for example, my MBA class, there was like 4 tests and 1 assignment, and it was all these crazy things, and it felt very overwhelming, and everybody in class was talking about it, but no one spoke up to the teacher. And I kind of just said, okay, I'm going to go ask. And I just asked, can we have an extension of a deadline? Professor was like, yeah, go ahead. I was able to breathe a sigh of relief. I'm able to take mental health days at my work. I have this amazing job. I got a really big raise recently. And it was all because I just decided to speak up. And I was very shocked at how many people don't speak up, and how you kind of you essentially just constrain yourself to this small box. And if you just speak up, oh, I'm interested in a job, or, hey, I really love what you do. Can I shadow you? Hey, can I ask you some questions? And how many opportunities that has opened up to me just amazes me. Like, I'm shocked. So I would just tell myself to speak up more and just talk more, talk to people, explain what your desires are, where you want to go in life. What are some things you want to do? What are you struggling with? And you'd be surprised at how easier life could be for you. I think is something that I would tell myself.
I think you also brought up one really key thing there, Christina, is like knowing yourself, right? You're talking about really knowing who you are, what your values are, what you're feeling, what you're dealing with, what you're struggling with, and being able to identify those things and then ask for what you need. Really important skill, right? And all the way through, that's going to keep serving you no matter where you are, but especially, you know, you and Michaela and Quinn, you're all current first generation master's students now, right? And Kelly was that as well, getting her MBA. And I definitely share that experience with you. And then going on to get my PhD, nobody in my family understood what I was doing. And they're all from the East Coast too. So they're like, you're out in California doing what? What kind of degree are you getting? What does that mean? You know, just no understanding. But if you know yourself, you know thyself, that's what's going to help get you through. Yeah. What do you wish every first generation student knew was true about themselves? So this is where you can take your shining moment to like say those inspiring words to these first gen students that are still working hard to get their degree, recognizing that not every first gen student finishes, right? There's like 33 to 35% of students nationally who are first gen, and yet only 27% of them graduate. And all of them have to work harder to get to where they want to be working, you know, like Michaela was talking about, having 2 jobs, working in between, you know, it's a lot more all along the way. So if you could inspire students with something, what would you want them to hear is true about themselves?
I would say you're capable of more than you think. And I think that's true. I think that's true for everybody. Like, college is tough. And when you're a first gen student, I can't describe the pressure and the challenges. Like it's just that much harder already. And there's all these different challenges and things that are going to be tossed your way, and it's going to feel like a lot. It is really going to feel like a lot. But like, you have the ability to do it. You just got to push through. Just push through.
I can also say something. I don't know if it's gonna be inspirational, but it is something that like I do also want to mention. Thank you for mentioning the actual like percentage of first generation students who actually do graduate and those who don't, because that is a reality. And I guess what I would like to say is that sometimes this is specifically for students who are currently finding themselves in a difficult situation and or continually find themselves struggling to either pay their tuition, find a job that they're happy with, feel like they're able to get into the class that they want to because they might be waitlisted, are struggling in school because of academics, and or they don't have that support system yet. Sometimes the issue isn't you personally, it's the system. Sometimes it's the actual exterior things that are happening around you that you have no control over. For example, I always think of financial aid. Financial aid is only given to students for about 8 semesters, and you can always petition to try to get more financial aid for additional time. However, students don't know that unless they know someone who's able to help them with that process. Sometimes students who do take longer to graduate don't know or don't realize that they'll lose financial aid at some point, or if they were previously receiving Pell Grants and or any quote unquote free money, it has like a time limit. And that's why in my last year at Sonoma State, I started seeing a lot of the encouraging students to take 15 units per semester to graduate on time. But the reason, like the way I understand it, the reason why they push it is because of that limit on financial aid. So sometimes the reason why you may be struggling with things in your life to be able to stay at Sonoma or stay in higher education, it sometimes isn't because of you. It's because of exterior forces that you have no control over. And I hope you're able to have a community or find a community and have the energy to be able to ask for help, as what Christina said, speaking up, speaking out, to be able to advocate for yourself. Because I know for me at Sonoma State, advocating for myself did lead me to burnout after I graduated, which is why I'm now in my second master's degree, now 2 years from when I should have graduated with my master's degree, is because of being a first generation student, having to advocate for myself continually takes up a lot of energy, having to be involved in clubs because you want that good resume, because you need to network, and or feeling the need to like have to know everyone and know everything to be able to make it, because our family doesn't understand, because the only people who do understand are also professionals and or friends who are also going through it. But yeah, for those first generation students who aren't currently in that situation, please know it's not you. Sometimes it's something else and or something you don't have control over.
I would like to
Super
say,
inspiring. Sorry, go ahead, Christina.
no, it's okay. I was gonna say, one thing I'd like to just say is your resilience is very beautiful, and your leadership to even just take the step to do this is, I'm so unbelievably proud of you. I think that's the first thing. Two is something, ironically, my partner is going through. He didn't finish school. He's a first generation student. Quinn, kind of like you were saying, and Dr. Audra, as you were saying, like one of those people that didn't finish, really got down in the dumps about, you know, am I not successful? Am I just not good enough? I, as a first generation, you know, did it. And he saw that and he decided to go back, and now he's achieving his dream job. And he's actually, you know, it might not look the traditional way of you get out of high school, you go in, you do the 4 years, and you finish, and then you get a job and it happens. It's like, it doesn't have to happen that way. And it's okay if it doesn't happen that way, and it doesn't make you any less successful, I think. But it's just so beautiful to see myself and my partner going through similar experiences in a different path, and seeing how happy we are to be able to achieve these dreams that we're able to accomplish. So I think, be resilient, don't give up, take those opportunities. Yeah, and just don't give up. And kind of along to kind of cap what Michaela was saying, you know, you're able to accomplish more than you could ever know. And if you have to take some steps back to protect your heart and set up those boundaries, do so, because you deserve this for yourself. And at the end of the day, once you accomplish it, last thing I'll say, celebrate yourself. I remember when I graduated, it didn't really hit me until after graduation, probably like a day after. It hit me that I graduated, and I was like crying, and I just took that day to be so proud of myself, that I was able to accomplish that, and that I did that. And as Quinn kind of said, it was so emotionally draining, but I took that time to just be proud of myself. So do that as well.
Awesome. Looks like we have a student question. Ivana, do you want to hop on and share, or put it in the chat, whatever you're comfortable with?
Oh yeah, I just well, I had a lot of things to say.
Great, share with us.
So I'm currently a fourth year. I'm going to be hopefully graduating in the spring, as I was expected to. And yeah, I'm going through, like, it's rough. And it was like really nice to hear you guys talk. Because as some of you said, like, you're working a lot and you have to be a full-time student. It's hard. It's hard. I'm currently working like 3 jobs. I'm taking like a full load of classes. And some days, like, I tell my roommate, I'm like, I don't think I can keep doing this. And I also don't have like that family support. And just hearing you guys say, like, keep going, like, it's gonna be worth it. It just feels so nice. And I know the holidays are coming up, and that just makes me more sad, because it's not like I can go home because I have to work. It's like when the holidays is like when they need you the most. And I know all of my roommates, they're gonna go back home to their families. So yeah, I guess my question is, like, how did you guys deal with, like, when holidays would come up?
Thank you for your question, Ivana, and for your vulnerability and sharing. I know I'm feeling the emotion. Anybody want to respond to Ivana and her question about the holidays and managing times where you can't go home or you can't be with your family in the ways that you wish you could be?
I'll kind of go. I want to say thank you again. Pretty much echoing exactly what Dr. Audra said. I also worked during the holidays in retail, Black Friday, and that was really hard. Again, trying to go home, exactly what you're saying. You know, it's an important time in our life and sometimes in our culture to be there. And it's really hard to be told, well, why aren't you coming home? And like getting both the pressure to stay, to be able to support yourself while also getting the pressure from your family of why you're not there. And I know it's easier said than done, but protecting your heart and understanding that going deep down and being like, I'm doing this because I know at the end of the day, this will turn into something else for me, or I will get the benefit of that. And something that I used to tell myself was, this is only temporary. And these years where I'm busting my butt and doing 3 jobs and being in student leadership and doing 12 units and doing all these things is really hard, but it's not going to be forever. And if you continue down this path and you continue to be resilient, at some point you will be able to get a job where you can get the week between Christmas and Thanksgiving off, or you can request that time off. And it's only temporary. And I know it's so hard to hear that because it's like, well, this feels like crap right now. But knowing that it's only temporary and it's time that you're investing in yourself. It might not be investing in your family, but you're investing in yourself, and your ability to achieve greater things is something you should be really proud of to be able to do.
And you're so close. Like you said, you're already in for almost a complete 4 years now, and you only have till spring. It's like the home stretch. You got this. Yeah.
Thank
We've
you.
yeah.
The last year can be hard for so many reasons, but you are almost there. You're almost to the finish line. I too, I went to school in Vermont. My family is from Maine and Rhode Island, and so I wasn't always able to go home for holidays. And it was definitely challenging being at work and then going home by yourself. But I would often try to find a friend that was going to be there, or I even went to, I think, a staff member's house one time. And I've definitely had students come to my home during Thanksgiving specifically. So maybe reaching out to see who else is around and what's going to be happening on campus. Is there something that you can connect into and find your family away from home? We are almost at time, so I just want to open it up for any last comments, thoughts, inspiring shares, any last words of wisdom.
Well, I would say if you're still in school and you have the opportunity, take advantage of the mentorship programs on campus. I wasn't able to do that when I was at Berkeley because I was working on all my free time, and it was a much bigger school. But this time around for my master's, I had Audra in the career office, and I had a professional mentor through the School of Business and Economics, and I also had an alumni mentor. And those experiences and that collaboration was invaluable. And definitely to stay connected, try to stay connected after that. So we also have the Alumni Association, and I'm on the leadership team for the MBA Alumni Forum. So a school like this, unlike a school like Berkeley, there's a way to stay connected and to continue the networking and to continue the collaboration even well after we graduate, and the support.
And I love that you shared that, Kelly, because you all are going to be in the know that you will be getting an invite to a brand new online network called the Sonoma State Network, where you can actually connect to each other as alumni and to our students. And we will have informal and formal mentoring programs. It's going to roll out in the next few months. And so alumni can look for their invitation by early to mid-December, and then students mid-January to late January. So I hope that will be a really great resource to connect the whole Seawolf community. So,
Absolutely.
well, Sammy, I want to give you just one moment if you want to share anything else before we go.
Kind of just tying what everyone else said is don't doubt yourself. Don't freak out or worry or be scared that kind of what Christina was saying, that your track, if it's not linear, mine definitely was not linear. Mine went all over the place. I've added my first bachelor's degree, I added minors, I took away minors, I added majors, I took away majors, freaking out because I wasn't getting into nursing school. I had a mini breakdown in Spain, away from family, because I didn't get into any programs. I reached out to then career head of the career center because I was already quitting, wanting to, oh, I really enjoy this. Let me think about that. But we're relying on my friends that I made in Spain, the EOP friends that I had before I left for Spain, talking with the career advisor. So knowing your resources. So like I spoke with the then career advisor, I spoke with Ku, just to simply like reassure that whatever you wanted to do, in my case, nursing, it would happen. It's just a matter of when. It's not that it's not going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So don't, all those obstacles that you face, it's there for a reason, to challenge you, for you to grow. Those new opportunities that come up, grab them and take them. That's one thing I regret, is not getting more involved at Sonoma State. Freaking out that by doing so, I would derail what I was aiming for. But at the end of the day, that's not what occurred. So, grab those opportunities, create those long friendships, network with friends, so that you can have a family within a family while you're at school, and so that you can network once you're out of school. Just so surround yourself with those individuals that will support you. And so you don't doubt yourself. Kind of cliche and cheesy to say, don't doubt yourself. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when.
Thank you.
Progress, not perfection. That's one of my favorite mantras.
Yes, definitely. Progress, not perfection. That's right. One foot in front of the other. We keep going.
That's right.
Well, thank you all so much for being with us today and sharing your inspiration. And there was just so much wisdom that you all shared from your variety of experiences and backgrounds. And I know that we're going to have students watch this and just be able to keep going and overcome some of those challenges and those tough moments because of something that you shared today. So that's really important. And I really appreciate you all being here. So thank you so much. We are going to sign off and start the recording now. And panelists, if you can just hold on 1 minute.